welcome to No Small Roles Superfan Chats, the show where we recap episodes, discuss fan theories, and generally nerd out over what has happened in the last few episodes of No Small Roles. I'm Superfan Hannah, and I'm with Superfan Sam.
Hello.
And Superfan Pippa.
Hello.
And today we're going to be discussing episodes 33 to 36.
Yes, we are.
Big episodes, puzzly. Can't wait to get into this. I hope that you guys have wrapped your heads around it, because I struggled at times.
My brain has exploded. But we'll see what we can do.
I mean, it was cool to listen to, but sometimes I really struggled to visualize where they were. And I'm a super fan, but I don't know if I'm super fan enough to start drawing my own maps as I listen.
I gave it a go.
Oh, wow.
It's more like, again, like amazing listening, but there were just times where I was like, hang on a sec, we need to then relay this to somebody else as if we really understand what's going on. So we have to be properly on top of this. I have no idea where to start. But I'm looking forward to giving it a go.
This is where I admit to you both that when they said the words cube, I literally imagined like a 3x3 block, you know, like three on the...
Oh, yeah. I thought they were in a Rubik's Cube.
Yeah, right? Like as in a cube, as in like a cube net. Yeah, no. Once I've seen that map, it was okay. But that took me a while to realise that was what they meant by cube.
Ah, yes. The map that was posted on Patreon. Mm-hmm. If you want to see the map, go to Patreon.
I'm still looking forward to the next 18 rooms, would it be, if it's a cube? I can't think. What's maths?
What is maths?
Yeah, I've no idea. I don't know. I was expecting 9 of them, but...
Oh my God. Yeah, it was amazing to listen to, but it was also like, what is happening?
I mean, we also, we did chat with David about this on No Small Questions. He revealed that he works in an escape room, so this is the reason behind all of this genius, and it really is. I was just sitting there like, there is no chance in hell that I would be coming up with this for my players. Sorry guys, if you're listening, it's not going to happen.
I think there's no chance in hell I would be good enough to solve it either, so...
You've got other strengths, guys. You've got other strengths. We've all got other strengths.
This is true.
Yes, unfortunately, none of them would help us pass the first room, so we'd be a bit squish.
Yes, we are not Wingthrups.
I'd rather not be a Wingthrup, given what we know now.
Yeah.
Talking of Wingthrups.
Oh, do you want to recap the first episode?
I think, yeah. Let's dive into it. Okay, I got the first episode. Fortunately, there was only one puzzle in mine, and I will get to that a little bit later, because it certainly puzzled me. But I was covering episode 33, The Golden Forest. So we picked up right from the last episode where a load of these possessed artificial limbs are fleeing from Theresine's workshop, and the party are kind of like giving chase after them. Gwendolyn is able to lock one of them down with her dope monk skills, but the majority of these hands kind of get lost in the underbrush of this courtyard and manage to get away. There's a nice moment with Enkidu and Juna having a little fly around, and Juna leaning into that witchy kind of vibe. What they did kind of work out before they lost track of them was that they were heading in the general direction of the town. But having lost them, these hugely erect things, Vicky? And yeah, they do unfortunately get away. They kind of decide, because obviously Theresine's a bit put out by this, to give her some kind of alibi, and they release the final hand and kind of advise her to say that it was stolen by a third party, which isn't entirely untrue. They then decide to give their goodbyes after a meal, and they head into the Golden Forest. Juna, while they're in the forest, has a less than successful conversation with a chipmunk.
Who sounds like James Acaster. If you ever listen back to it, he just sounds exactly like James Acaster.
Oh my God, he does.
I know, right? I puzzled over that for ages. I was like, who is he reminding me of?
Oh, wow. I didn't even think about it. I'm going to have to go back and listen to it a third time. But they're kind of walking through the forest for a little while, and then they decide to have a rest on a very lovely-looking grassy knoll. Enkidu and Juna take the first watch, and Juna's kind of like looking around for components because she has an idea of using this fine familiar spell to change Ruana from being a goose into a black cat. And during this, Enkidu kind of opens up a little bit, and he mentions that Alcibiades, in the last conversation that they had, seems to be going through some kind of personality shift, and he can't really work out why that is, but it may be important later down the line. Gaius and Gwen wake up to take the second watch, And Gwen is able to kind of convince Gaius to talk about his family a little bit more.
Yes.
He goes into this story about his mother, and we learned we don't necessarily learn because anything from Guy could be a lie. But he definitely tells us that there was some kind of plague that killed his mother, and he kind of goes on to say that it got his siblings as well, which when kind of further pressed, he reveals that he has a few siblings. He has Brutus, he has Cassius, and he says he has a sister called Angeline. And then he decides to correct his lie and mentions his sister Treya. Alarm bells, anyone?
Yeah, absolutely.
And he says that his sister Treya and his brother got tangled up in the wrong crowd. Obviously, this is harkening back to Berrien Fields when a certain letter was found with his sister's name on it. Hex, hex, hex.
Mm-hmm.
But all of a sudden, just as he's opening up, this mound that they're sitting on rises up and begins to try to swallow Gaius. Which commences this battle time against the shambling mound, which is, as it sounds, a big heap of plants that likes to eat people.
That's such a good description of a shambling mound.
Perfect.
I love it.
Oh, thank you. And then it kind of attempts to shamble away into the forest to enjoy its little Gaius snack in peace. And they all start smashing it up. Instantly gets lit up with the fairy fire wand so that they can all kind of like pelt it with their magic. You have Ruana moves in to help Guy out, basically giving him advantage on his check to break the grapple. Mm-hmm. You have Enkidu running in, preparing to cast Thunderstep, this being a surefire way of getting Guy out of trouble. But he chooses quite nobly to hold the action until the others are out of range. So we have Enkidu, Gwen, Aggie, and Ruana gathered around Gaius, trying to help him out. And here's my puzzle. So Guy casts Thunderwave, which instantly kills Aggie and Ruana,
No.
pushes Enkidu backwards, and kind of like really badly hurts everybody. But he's still stuck inside this mound,
He panicked.
which then swallows him even more. So he's just like further down with no help. We then move to Gwen, who manages to kind of pull Guy out of his little prison that he's made for himself. And they change tactic at this point to kind of like either flee from this thing or try and get it to flee. And Enkidu does an insane amount of damage with Eldritch Blast. You know, and I think he eventually kills it with Eldritch Blast as well. But, you know, it's going well by this point, so Orin realises that he hasn't actually helped this creature yet, so he pumps it full of lightning and heals it to keep this fight going a little bit longer.
Orin.
Yeah, I know.
Again.
I mean, I love that this is his thing. And I hope it is a running joke and that Ben decides to do it officially and help out every monster that they fight just a little bit.
We just have a t-shirt that says "Oh, Orin."
It's just further confirming my theory that he is actually the big bad of the campaign.
Oh, he's Crowl. I did have a chat about you can make that fit. You can make it fit if you really, really work at it. There's some tenuous threads, but you can, yeah. You know, he could be. You know, he just needs to put a bit of grumble into his voice and he's there already. Anyway, they eventually manage to take this thing down and kind of the episode finishes as they scan the area just to make sure that there aren't any more of these things. And David ominously tells us that there is no way of them knowing.
Oh.
And that's where they ended the episode.
Oh, what a good episode.
Uh-huh.
Gaius, backstory.
Yes.
I know.
Yes.
How much do we trust?
This is the thing.
We just can't know.
It's so easy for him to lie. He even says it in this bit. It's like, lying is like bread and butter to me. Sometimes they just flop out. So, I don't know. Did his mum die by plague? Are his siblings responsible for the scarring on his face? How deep into the hex are they? How much does Gaius know about them being the hex? Yeah, I'm just questions.
It's going to come back to bite us in a big way, isn't it, at some point?
Yeah, we kind of finally felt like we were getting somewhere with the story, and then David's like, oh yeah, you know, what's your armor
by the way,
class,
shambling mound,
You're getting
here you go.
eaten, yeah.
Yeah, it's just his way of making sure he doesn't reveal too much.
Yeah.
That sense of like, how much is he involved with the hex? How much does he know about the hex? Are the hex the ones that gave him his scars? Were his siblings part of that situation?
How much do the Hex know about him and the party he's travelling with? It works both ways.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And is his name even Gaius? I mean, we're...
What is his last name?
You know, while we're on this line, because there are revelations coming up in the next episode that just kind of like makes you think, well, he probably doesn't even know this stuff about himself. He's just chosen a name and he's gone off to be a bard. We don't even know if he's a proper bard. He might be a bard rogue monk Like, I just don't know when it comes to Gaius.
He alluded to something about performance not being his best skill.
Which is bizarre for
Exactly.
a bard.
I know,
actually,
right?
this was mentioned, Pippa, I don't know if you picked this up, but David said something about rolling the stats. Chris rolled ridiculously well.
Yes.
And he chose to give himself a low charisma. And he kind of played this off as like he wanted to be learning, like, you know, gaining charisma as the story went along. So where did he put those good stats? It's definitely not in strength.
No.
We know that much. He's got a longsword that he can't use. So where are they?
It's got to be in Dex. One of them's got to be in Dex.
But his armor class is only 14. It's very strange. I was confused.
That's so frustrating. Chris, you're full of secrets.
No.
Give them to me.
But it's also Chris is the most open, lovely guy. And like he's playing this like, I will hold on to every little nugget of information.
Oh dear. He's the most lovable liar.
It's so interesting. Personally, I've noticed a trend with actors that the most lovely people play the best villains. It's really interesting. Like the actors that seem like the kindest, the most down to earth, play the best. Like they portray the best performances of villains I've ever seen.
Kill you with a smile kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they're just really good at being really awful because maybe that's like their only outlet and they don't need to do it anywhere else. I don't know. But like, it's fascinating.
It's what they've always wanted to be, but feel like they can't. They have the theatre to explore their dark side.
Do you guys remember the Shambling Mound was the first Patreon decided encounter?
Yeah.
It was the chipmunks.
Oh, yeah.
And the Shambling Mound. If you go and scroll back down to the bottom and have a look, they were the two that got the highest votes. So this is where we've kind of picked up on our own
Right,
decisions.
Yeah. I remembered the Shambling Mounds. I didn't remember the chipmunks.
Yeah, chipmunks was on there
That's
as well.
so cool. You know what? David blended that in so seamlessly.
He did,
I
yeah.
barely noticed.
Yeah, it didn't
I
disappoint.
was just like,
did
oh,
it?
this actually really makes sense for this to
Yeah.
happen. So I'm really excited to see how the other Patreon polls go.
Yeah, it's nice that we're starting to sort of see the fruits of those polls coming through.
Yeah,
That's really
yeah,
cool.
100%. Plus the way that he described it, it's like he kind of described this mound as idyllic. You know, it's like, oh, it's got little flowers growing on it and it looks really comfortable. So
Yep.
make sure that you sit there because I want to eat you with it.
Yeah, yeah.
Again, one of the nicest people and yet the evil, the trickery. Here it is.
Evil genius.
Oh, that is so true. I one thing that they mentioned in this as well, because we talked about this before the podcast, is the hay fever. So if you're hearing bunged up noses and stuff like that today, it's because we are suffering from it.
It's that time of year.
But they also got them to roll to see whether they suffer from hay fever, which I've never seen in D&D before. But, you know, just having a mild allergy or
great.
something, you know, and having that play on.
Oh, the little realism in there.
And Kidi was very sniffly, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Guy rolled a 19 to see that he doesn't have hay fever. But then David also described this shambling mound as like trying to grow sticks into his nose. So maybe he has it now.
Yeah. Maybe.
It's been implanted in him. Ugh.
Ew. Ew.
What's happened to the hands?
What has happened to the hands?
Oh, gosh.
Good question.
Ugh.
I mean, presumably they've made their way back down to the workshop where they came from.
Yeah,
but-
I still have big alarm bells questions over who is controlling these things, how much do they actually know, because it is mentioned. I think Chris says like, I don't think this is going to be the thing that outs us. I don't know.
Maybe.
You never know.
I don't know. You know, this is a ridiculously powerful magical family, and if they are behind this, then chances are they do know everything that's going on in that workshop. I wouldn't be surprised if they have some kind of, like, Sentry is a level 2 spell. Could easily have that in a workshop, just tucked away in one of these devices. 'Cause it's quite clear that Theracine doesn't keep it clean.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it could be in the test golem that was installed that it could have Sentry in it.
Easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dun dun dun.
Oh dear, they're screwed.
Oh, it's so unnerving not being able to trust anything on a surface level at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I just have a sneak suspicion that there are no loose ends when it comes to David. I feel like he has thought of everything, or at least he thinks about the things that people miss and decide to leave
Yep.
to one side, and then it's like, oh, you know, I can use that later as some form of punishment.
Layers upon layers upon layers.
Punishment. I love the way you characterize it as punishment as opposed to a
Punishment,
plot
yeah.
twist.
Punish your players. Shall I crack on and give us the next episode?
Oh, yeah, go on,
Please.
because the next one has some big
Because
revelations.
I've got a lot
yeah,
to talk about.
get in there.
Okay, so episode 34 is called Where the Compass Points. And I have quite a long list of points here because so much happens in this episode.
Yeah, good luck.
It blew
to
my
keep
mind.
This to 5 minutes.
Yeah, right, I'll do my best. So having survived this shambling mound encounter, Enkidu investigates it and he discovers that they are creatures given life by lightning who disguise themselves inside the forest and trap their food, a bit like kind of walking Venus flytrap. That's how I kind of imagined it anyway.
Yeah, that's good.
And Juna collects a little bit of the mound and uses it for Find Familiar to bring back Rowana as the little black cat. And she also returns that lost pearl to Orin. So when Gaius did Thunderwave in the previous episode, the pearl went flying off 15 feet as well. And
Yeah.
they spent a good amount of time trying to find it. She found it. She gives it back to Orin. They finish their long rest camped on top of the dead shambling mound, which actually I thought was a good idea. Enkidu and Orin experiment with Counterspell and uses it to kind of have a little play around extinguishing Orin's blowtorch. It's going to be useful in the future, I reckon. Orin repairs Aggie, turns her into Aggie 2. She's got an extra little teaspoon for a bit of armour. And he also sets to work building his own travelling workshop. They set off the next morning. Gwen climbs a tree to try and work out how much further there is to go. They think there's about another 4 hours before they reach a sort of triangular area of trees that look like they're a bit more stunted than the rest of the forest. I'm wondering why they're stunted rather than being even more sort of luxurious. Maybe luxurious isn't the word for a tree, but you would maybe think that if they've got all this energy, maybe the trees nearer the workshop would have been growing better. But
Oh yeah, like a more lush area of
yeah,
forest.
like a more lush
Yeah.
forest. It was kind of felt like it was the wrong way round.
Well, I didn't know.
Felt a bit sinister.
Maybe there's some kind of like ceiling on this magical
Oh, that's
field
true.
that keeps people in and out. Was my logic behind it anyway?
Yeah, maybe I'm thinking it's too sinister.
It probably is.
Yeah. Could well be. Who knows? So they reach the line between the flourishing trees and the smaller ones. Rowana manages to cross over the line, but nobody else crosses the line initially. Juna sort of uses fly and zooms around and does a little sweep of the perimeter just to see what she can see. And she notices 2 golems in a sort of slight clearing in the middle. Orin uses his goggles. He detects abjuration magic from beyond this line. Gaius then tries to step over the line and realises he can't do it. Smashes his face on this kind of invisible wall. They realise it must be because they need to hold the compass to get over the line. It's kind of like a little mini test to even get anywhere near this workshop. So they each step over the line and throw the compass back to the next person, and they each get across the line and make their way towards these golems. Enkidu and Juna approach them first. The blue faces appear on them, and they state that there are multiple potential spouses detected. So the golems are going to now tell them exactly who is who and solve this puzzle that we've been talking about who is the Wingthrup. And they all go up in various kind of combinations. And we eventually deduce that, as we suspected, Orin is a Wingthrup.
Check.
But Psychic Hannah had it in the last one.
Yeah.
So is Gaius.
Yes, I felt so vindicated.
I know, you called it. I know. We're just going to take everything you say as gospel from now on because you
God,
just
no.
nail it every time.
I mean, we didn't guess that both of them would be Wingthrups.
This is true. Yeah.
There was a lot of stuff being bandied around, but I was not expecting it to be like, oh, there's 2 of them. Oh, okay. What are the odds?
There's a tiny piece of me wondering that it's only picking up Gaius because he's got those metal plates in his bag at this point. I'll be bitterly disappointed if that is the case, but got just a little tiny thing in my head.
There is a chance, yeah.
Very small. After this kind of massive revelation, they activate the maze and a little trapdoor opens, revealing a staircase that takes them underground. They descend down this brass corridor that I think David describes it as being like inside a jewellery box almost. They reach a door at the far end. It's got no handle, but it's got a little sigil in white. As they push that one open, the door that leads back to the outside world closes and they're locked in. They enter the first room, which is a 60-foot square. It's got a door with a gold sigil at the opposite end. And in the middle of the room is a small square table with an ornately decorated brass table leg. And on the table is some kind of copper wire on a spool and 4 metal clamps. And suddenly the walls start closing in. They've got about 30 seconds to solve the puzzle before they're all crushed to death.
Squishy, squishy.
Squishy, squishy. What a brilliant one to start off with, though. Like, time limit for your very first puzzle. That was such a brilliant way of just making everybody spur into action.
Just a brilliant TPK as well. Like, I mean, that would have been a hell of an end to the podcast. Can you imagine if it just
Yeah, and you're all
stopped?
crushed to death.
I was like, oh, we made it to episode 34, guys.
Well done.
Okay, bye.
Definitely made everyone pay attention. That's for sure.
Oh, I know. So Oren's goggles reveal the table leg contains transmutation magic. Gwen picks up the top of the table to free the leg. Gaius starts attaching clamps to things, to like the leg and the copper wire, and everyone's kind of panicking and not really sure what to do. Gwen and Gaius check the table and glimpse some writing etched on the edge. They find a clue which says, "Turn the cogs K." Gaius finds a cog, he turns it, and he realises he can suddenly pick up the table leg. As the others are kind of floundering to solve this puzzle, Gaius continues to move the cog, and he finds it then locks the table in place again. And then Oren suddenly realises that the table is like the key to solving this puzzle and to getting the walls to stop moving in. They've not got many actions left by this point either. There's sort of only maybe a couple of them who have got time to do anything else. And Kidu takes the table to one of the walls, Gwen twists the cog, and the table leg locks in midair. And then the walls stop at either end of the table leg. So they've literally got about a 3-foot corridor left to be able to climb through. But they have solved the puzzle and they haven't been killed, so it's all good. And then the door clicks open. They take the tabletop and the spool and the clamps with them as they go through this gold sigiled door and into the next room, which is filled with pistons, which are not currently moving. And then there are 3 more doors on the other 3 walls. There's a green door ahead, there's a red door to the left, and there's a blue door to the right. The red and the blue are both blocked off by these pistons, but they can get to the green. Juna has another investigate, and she finds another clue from Kay, which describes a hidden crawl space in the middle of the room. Gaius goes in to have a look. He finds a silver sigil on the floor, which marks like where this safe spot is. And there are 2 silver metal rods in the floor and a small control panel with a little on-off switch. And Kidu reaches the green door, which is not locked. So there's a very quick look inside. Sees a big 30-foot furnace, which they'll come back to later. And another 2 doors inside that one as well. Oren gets into the crawl space. And once everyone's clearing inside the forge room sort of doorway, they leave the doors kind of propped open. Oren turns on the pistons. And they manage to leave the green and the blue doors accessible. And as they enter the blue room, that's where we finish off that episode. So we've seen the first 2 puzzles, basically. The first 2 rooms.
Oh, well done with that as well. You described that really well. Oh. I didn't know how you were going to do it, but...
That was really impressive.
I got there. Just bullet through it. Oh, my word. I really enjoyed this one, though. It was brilliant.
Yeah,
so good. Also, okay, can we please talk about the Wingthrup revelation?
Yeah.
Yes, please do.
Go for it, Hannah. Tell me about the Wingthrup revelation.
Well, one of my questions is, how closely are they related to the Wingthrups? Is it like cousins? Is it cousins removed? Is it actual direct descendants? Like, are their parents Wingthrups?
Yeah.
And also, therefore, how are Oren and Guy related?
Yeah, I mean, there's some kind of species thing here as well, isn't there? A race thing, because I think, isn't Gaius a half-elf and Oren is a human?
Yes, he is,
so it maybe isn't perhaps immediate family. I mean, it might be.
And the Wingthrups
it could well be,
that we've encountered a human so far.
To my knowledge, yeah, I think so. There's two more we haven't met, but we've heard of, so maybe not. I know we haven't met Quanta in particular.
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, I am, there's a large part of me hoping that, and I mean, this will be revealed as we hopefully learn a bit more about Gaius' family, is whether they are actually, you know, it's funny that Myra's like, my family aren't my family.
Yeah.
Are Gaius' family his family?
True.
You know, or were they 2 siblings that were separated at birth? You know, one of them was effectively discarded to the Woden Isles, and the other one given to another prominent family in some other location. Would explain the different accents and the different upbringings. But I mean, I would love if they were brothers.
Or if they were both discarded, one sent to the Woden Isles and then one with the elf parent, because the Wingthrups are human and there's some kind of horrible racism thing going on.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah. Or they could be really distantly related, like first or second, third cousins, you know. It's just literally a Wingthrup has married into the family that Gaius is a part of, and therefore he's got Wingthrup blood, and then who knows, Oren could be, like, have more blood of the Wingthrup, which makes sense for, like, the weird tattoo that he has, and
sure.
I don't know. I mean, again, more questions.
There is also something to do with the fact that if we're linking it to sort of like the wider world, there are sort of like invading forces and there are sort of politics where like the elves live in this place and the orcs live in Orkosh, and there's real divisions. So, I don't know. There's some mysterious politics happening.
It sounds like a very kind of old, well-established family name as well. So it's going to go back hundreds, if not thousands of years.
Yeah, but we also don't know the the blood value of this test. Like, can anybody with even the slightest degree of Wingthrup blood, do they then qualify for the test? Or does it have to be like, you are heavily Wingthrup and therefore you are an untested Wingthrup? You know, how we don't know how those golems measure.
Well, there is the spouse thing as well, where if you're a potential spouse, you can do it. But then it would say you're a potential spouse. So I guess, question still stands. How much Wingthrup do you need to qualify as an untested Wingthrup as opposed to a potential spouse?
And are they different mazes? Does the maze kind of set itself differently if you're doing it as an individual as opposed to a group? Is it kind of like adding up how much everyone is contributing and not all of them are going to pass at the end?
Oh my God.
Is it the same maze every time, or is it like, do they change the maze every year? Do they set different tests every year so people can't like tell their
give
cousin,
each other
cliff notes?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, Myra, I just did the test. Make sure that you get the dispel wand or whatever. I mean,
take some batteries with you.
Yeah, exactly. Just bring things to cheat. Oh, look for K's. Look for K's everywhere, guys.
Yeah.
Just before we leave the thing, with the whole like finding out about the who were the Wingthrups, I love that Daryl said beforehand, or even Enkidu was like, there are bigger mysteries at play that we need to find out. I think everyone at home was like, no, Enkidu.
No, we need to know.
This is the mystery we want to know the answers to.
Yeah.
We need to know now. It'll only take 5 minutes, and then you can have your maze.
Yeah. Who is Kay?
Kay.
Who is Kay?
I think it's Kral.
I mean, yeah. It was my first thought as well, because I can't think of anybody else.
It's the obvious name beginning with K, but then, as we've said before, David doesn't do obvious.
No, but...
Yeah, but Kral also messes with time travel, and I feel like he's connected to the Wingthrup somehow.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we know he is because, well, actually, we don't necessarily know he is, but I think the Wingthrups were some of the original founders of the Consortium, or have I got that wrong?
Yeah, no, that's right,
I think
isn't it?
There was
so they would have known each other.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also like, Crow was very, very familiar with them to begin with. And that's not just because they end up killing him in certain timelines. There was a familiarity with them of like, oh no, this is the incorrect path for you to be on. I need to intervene at this point.
Yeah.
On a different timeline, he could very well wanted to help them out in this situation.
True. Yeah.
So yeah,
And what did destroying the table do to the timelines? Because
true.
In
There's
this
a paradox,
timeline,
isn't there? Yeah.
Well, yeah, because in this timeline, by this point, Kral is dead, so there's no way Kral could have left the clues. But if something's happened with the timelines to do with the table, because they all also got to see each other's pasts, which indicates there's some sort of reality bending or merging or something's happening.
Yeah.
What, like, Kral is not over. He's here somehow. You don't just get rid of a lich that easily.
He's coming back. We've not seen the last of him.
No, so...
He's too good a villain to have been gone for good, do you know?
Oh, yeah.
This is my dream come true. I've wanted him to come back for ages. He's the faceless footman for me.
The man with many faces.
Yeah, he's got a bunch of hands.
You just look behind you and you're like, it's Kral. Kral is everywhere.
It's the stuff of nightmares.
He's like my golem. He just keeps coming back.
Yeah.
I was thinking of The Walking Dead, how like everyone's Negan. And like Kral is
They're
Negan.
all Kral.
Like everything is Kral. Everyone is Kral.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they all become Kral in the end. No. Every Wingthrup is Kral.
Oh, man.
Untested Kral detected.
Untested Kral. Undead Kral detected.
Ooh.
Spooky.
We'll get the answer at some point. We're just going to have to
digress.
wait, aren't we?
Unfortunately.
But yeah, with these puzzles though, did anybody get them? Did you get the answers before they did? Because particularly with the table leg, I was stumped. I'm going to be honest.
I had no idea. I'd have been squished.
I was there thinking like, how does the wire get used in this room to?
I thought the table leg might have been a door handle, so you turn the cog to make it fit in the door.
Ooh.
But that obviously was wrong.
Well, when they said about
so I don't get it right all the time.
Like unscrewing the tabletop, I was like, oh, okay, there are 3 cogs on the door. Maybe you put the table like in the middle of those cogs and turn it.
Okay. Yeah.
Which would have squished me by the time I would have been able to do that. So
depends how strong the tabletop is.
I've just got the image of the 3 of us in this room, like just smacking bits of table against different things.
Yeah.
Being like, how does it work?
Until we die.
Yep.
Yeah.
I wonder whether those extra bits on the table was a genuine red herring, or maybe there was more than one way to solve the room.
Well, so this is, I think, where David's, escape room experience comes into play, because, I don't know if you've done many escape rooms. I've only really done the one, and I was awful at it. I was so stressed that I was just shouting at things. My dad was with me at the time. It was just like, oh my God. But they do, they'll give you keys and things like that in earlier rooms that then get used much later on. But you're there like trying everything with these keys and like, why are they working? It's like you say, as a red herring.
I've similarly done one escape room, and my response to stress was to just focus on like the most immediate puzzle I could do by myself and block everyone else's yelling out and just be like, I just need to go into my corner and solve this.
And did it work?
50-50. It was all right. It helped later down the line, but in the immediate, I think everyone was a bit annoyed that I was like, I can't focus. Everyone's yelling.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a team sport, isn't it? But I just can't. I can't handle it.
The
It very
pressure.
much depends on who's on your team.
There's
yeah.
so many things to solve. You got a clock counting down. I mean, we had like an hour, I think. These guys had 3 rounds.
30 seconds. Yeah.
Nah.
Way to pile the pressure on.
Oh, yeah. And it feels like all these rooms in this strange puzzle have so much pressure.
Oh yeah. They can all kill you. And I don't know whether David had some kind of like major contingency plan for if that happened. He kind of said he did, but I'm like, okay, unless you can like instantly teleport them out, and it's like a big red cross comes across, and
Yeah.
I don't know, Simon Cowell's there saying no. Yeah, I don't know, or whether it's just like, oh, okay, new characters, but we've become so invested in them. Can you imagine if they just got squished?
I'm dreading this day.
But that's such a lovely thing that David's done, in that he's treading that really fine line between challenging his players and really trusting that they can rise to that challenge. And it's so nice that he's giving them these puzzles that are genuinely really complicated and confusing and hard. Mm-hmm. But he really believes that they can do it, and they can.
Yeah.
So that, I think that's really cool.
Yeah, he knows that balance, doesn't he? Because as a listener, you don't want to hear them acing everything and beating every single monster really, really easily, because it's just not. You want that drama, don't you? You want that entertainment.
Well, Orin seems to like to ramp that entertainment up
Yes,
by
he does.
healing the monsters. So
is
no
true.
danger of that
Oh
there.
my god.
We love you, Ben.
It reminded me of, the kind of elation of them solving that first wall room. It did take my mind back to when they were in Crowell's underground tower and they suddenly twigged about the table being the,
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember, phylactery. That's the
yeah.
word, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, that was the first puzzle.
It was a very kind of similar light bulb moment for me that made me go,
So
of course, yeah.
So good. We love a puzzle. That phylactery was probably the first puzzle that they really did.
Yeah.
With the diary as well.
Yeah.
Putting
Putting
the
the
diary
entries
together.
in
Yeah,
the right
yeah.
place.
Yeah.
That it's kind of nice to see a bit more of that.
Well, should we talk about the next bits of the puzzle?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Tell us
please
the
do.
next puzzles.
Okay, so the puzzles continue in episode 35, batteries not included. And I'm just going to say right now, Pippa, that I did not keep track of which rooms they were going into. I found
That's
it
all right.
too difficult to figure out which door led to which room. So I just know what the rooms are like.
It's all good. It's
So-
all good.
They open, was it the blue door that you said at the end? And then, so they open the door. There's a room with basically a drawbridge and a pit on the other side. And essentially they need to work out how to lower the drawbridge because that seems to be the way out. But there's no way on this side where they are to be able to do it. So they try to look around for more clues from Kay. They don't really find one in this room. There's lots of writing on the walls. There's different types of wood, different types of spells, and different types of creatures. And there's 24 of them total. And they realise that each spell is a different school of magic. The wood is from different regions in the world. And all the creatures are different elements.
Yep.
And essentially, this room is a room where they learn to design wands with all these different components.
So good.
Yes.
Genius. However, getting it wrong means that acid starts filling up like a well, and it's a 30-foot drop into the well. And every time they get something wrong, it fills up about 10 feet with acid. So they've got basically 3 chances before acid overflows and starts spilling into the room and kills them. They manage it. They managed to make a wand of dispel magic, I believe.
Yeah,
I was
there's a bit
so
of fluke
lucky.
in there. A little bit of fluke.
Well, it's fluke, and also the way they figure it out is that Guy reveals he's got all these wands from nowhere, and Juna's like, why are they in my tea caddy? What are you doing? So they fiddle about with those. Orin carves the wand. They use dispel magic on, I think, a rune over the door.
Yeah.
I struggled to visualize things, so I felt like I was losing the thread. But that opened another door into a room with a bunch of golems pointing crossbows at them. And they found a clue saying, defend yourself, which they didn't feel particularly confident about.
Was that the obsidian room? He said something
That's
about
it,
a big obsidian table.
Yeah.
A big slab in the middle of the room.
Yep, I'm with you.
Very, very creepy. At this point, Orin works out that it's a cube.
Yes.
Because of the way the doors are placed. I could not visualize it enough to figure out which doors led to which rooms.
Just me.
No, I know.
Oh my God.
They kept saying the phrase like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I was it does?
It was no less entertaining to listen to, though.
Right?
I found it great. I could visualise the insides of each room, but not where the different coloured doors were. So I looked at the map on Patreon and it was a bit easier to work it out, but my brain was still a bit like, what is happening?
Yeah, don't worry, it wasn't just you.
I'm so impressed with all the players that they actually managed to make sense of that, because I think my eyes probably would have gone crossed and I would have said, you know what, you guys just leave me around and I'll do the puzzles inside the room.
Just going to sit this one out,
I'll help you when I'm in the room. You guys work out which direction we need to go in.
Yeah.
So then they go into a different room, and all along the ceiling of the room are glass pipes filled with orbs. And inside these orbs are little creatures. And I think Ben makes the analogy of the machines where you put some money in and you turn the crank and a little ball pops out.
Yeah.
There are also 2 cylinders and 2 like crane grabby type things. And the cylinders say release and extract. So that sounds ominous.
This room gave me feels.
I know.
So they try release, and Gwen stands under a pipe ready to catch one of the orbs as it falls. And unfortunately she misses, and a little fire fairy comes out once the orb smashes on the ground and starts whizzing around the room and hurting them. So they try to get it to stop and accidentally kill it. Juna revives it and they heal it, and then it starts hurting them again. So then they kill it again.
Yeah. Enkidu's just trying so hard to
I know.
calm this thing down.
So Enkidu's really upset in the first place, looking at all the creatures trapped in these orbs, and then he becomes really upset thinking about how your whole life you're just trapped in this ball being used by something else for a greater purpose, and you've got no choice, which I think was a little interesting insight into the kind of thing that really gets to Enkidu.
Yes.
And then using the fly spell, they fly up and get all the balls out of the pipes. David says they can do it within the 10 minutes that the spell lasts.
Yeah.
And they've got a whole bunch of them. He describes sort of different numbers of each one. And they essentially fill up the cylinders and see what happens when they use extract. And essentially the creatures are sacrificed and their life force is consumed. And Enkidu just drops to his knees and is devastated. And I think they all agree with the sentiment. I really hate this family. And that's where the episode ends.
Really, really did.
Oh.
It just brings it home. It's not just a puzzle. It was a really harrowing ending.
Yeah, it's awful. And it doesn't help that the creatures are really cute. There's like a little lightning chaffinch, and then there's a little hedgehog and a cute little fairy. And I mean,
David said he took care to make sure that they were cute animals to kind of drive that point home. Not necessarily that he wanted the party to deal with, like having to kill little cute things, but, just to kind of...
More about the Wingthrups character, right?
Yeah.
And what they see as being important, because he did say like all of these puzzles are for what the Wingthrups value as being important skills. Like this is what would make you a Wingthrup, and it seems like the ability to close off your empathy or close off your emotions and kill a like little cute creature in order to pass a test is what would make you a true Wingthrup.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that out of all of them, Enkidu is the one who instantly sees through that.
Yeah.
Everyone else is in puzzle mode. Let's solve the puzzle and deal with the moral implications later. Whereas straight away, he's the one that's like, this is not right.
Yeah, which is so...
Yeah.
I was so surprised by Juna's response because she's so connected to the animal world that her thing was like, well, maybe we can free them all later, but we've got to get out of this room. So there was a slightly militant, blunt kind of practicality about her in that moment, whereas Enkidu was so devastated. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. As an animal lover, as well as obviously Daryl clearly loves animals quite a lot, I really felt that awful feeling.
Well, it is weird because, I mean, we have discussed this, but it's that it's a puzzle. So you're there like, okay, how do I solve this puzzle? So I listening to it was like, okay, well, you would just use those. It took Daryl as Enkidu to be like, wait a minute, think about what we're doing. For me to be like, to think about how horrible that situation was. And that's what's genius about David. Like you said, he's not a horrible person, but he puts these moral questions in front of you and is like, how do you feel about this? How would you deal with this?
Yeah.
And yeah, for Daryl to pick it up and, they had this discussion about the ethics of it all. Apparently they had to stop actually recording the main part of the episode so that they because this discussion carried on. But yeah, to put that into what I would consider like a really happy-go-lucky, almost comedy style D&D podcast was a really brave, great choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
It really gives you the sense that we've had that there are much more ominous and dark elements at play that have been threaded throughout. Like, it's not letting up. There is this sort of like funny, comedic, a little bit quaint, sort of happy surface to it. And then underneath are these real themes of danger and violence and the sinister nature of things that really is that thing about not really being able to trust anything on face value, isn't it? It's that sense that there's always something a bit darker bubbling away underneath. And it really comes out when you, like, if you look closer, you really see it.
Yeah. And the ongoing part of it as well, like, this isn't just a puzzle room. This isn't just them being like, oh, okay, you do it this time to make the battery. It makes you realize, like, this is all the batteries that they have. Yeah. All the batteries that they make for wands, all of those elementals and things like that, they've got caught in these batteries of varying sizes.
It's a factory, basically.
Yeah, this is their technique for making that happen.
And they're not just being caught. There are people whose livelihoods are trapping them.
Yeah.
There are trappers. So they've created an industry to essentially exploit natural resources. What an interesting comment on industrialism, David. So clever.
But also, right, so we've talked about the Pokemon ethics room, but can we also talk about the wand room?
Oh my God.
The feels room, for sure. Got to release them all.
I'm still scarred.
Yeah.
But yeah, can we talk about the wand room? Because there were a lot more options on those walls. They just so happened to get the one that they wanted first. But there were some really cool spells on that list.
I know.
Oh, Phantom Steed.
Phantom Steed. Could have brought back Bessie.
Oh. Why are you playing on my heartstrings
Bessie
of my love
2.0?
for animals, Sam?
I'm sorry.
All I want is for the animals to live and be okay.
Can I check? None of them have Dispel Magic as a spell, do they?
I don't think so. I mean, the closest that they've got is Enkidu with, counter spell.
Okay, because I got confused initially. And
Don't worry about it, Pippa, because I realised in a previous episode, I got confused between Anti-Magic Field, which is a spell, and Anti-Magic Cone, which is a monster ability.
Yeah. Well,
That's not a spell.
Fair enough. Yeah.
It happens.
Oh, if they'd have asked to borrow Ferrocine's machine, would that have worked in this room?
Ooh,
I don't know how big the
potentially, but I don't know
was.
whether would that have, because they dispelled the magical glyph that then opened this thing that I don't know whether, like, if they disabled the used an anti-magic field, would it just destroy? It might do, or it might just disable it at the time, and I don't know whether that means that anything opens or if it just means it shuts down all the magic of the room. But it's a thought.
True.
Yeah.
Don't know.
That links to what I think the idea that the wing thrups would only let you solve it with what was present in the room.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't need to bring anything else from outside in order to be able to solve the puzzle.
There's, because they have been trying to do it with everything in the room. I don't know whether if they had attempted to use batteries from outside, as they thought about doing, you might have thought that the wing thrups would have thought head on that one, and there's probably some kind of punishment that David has been like holding back, like, you get like a massive blast in the room or something, or you fail that part of the trial. I don't know, Simon Cowell moment again. But yeah, because I did think like, okay, he's got counterspell, which for the like the mechanics of it, counterspell is a reaction, whereas dispel is like you use your action to dispel an ongoing thing.
Okay. Cool.
And I there's a bit of me wondering as well, because they keep the wand at the end of that.
Yeah.
Are they going to still have the wand when they leave this trial? Like, do they get to keep absolutely everything that they create?
Everything that they pick up, yeah.
Yeah, because they are pocketing things. And,
what happens to the creatures?
I think they I think they're gone.
Can't go back for them.
Yeah.
I think they're going to have bigger problems on their hands once they finish this maze, to be honest, than going back for those little spheres.
Yeah.
Should we talk about the next bit? Yeah.
Let's move on, because I was going to say I really hope they release them and then all of these like little electric hedgehogs and stuff attack the wing thrups, and they are the true heroes of this story.
Just like the Pokemon movie.
Yeah, episode 36 is Forging Ahead. And again, I'm going to read what I wrote because there's a lot to say. So, having completed this room, which whatever we're calling it now, this sphere room or hedgehog room, feels room, we're going to call it.
The feels room.
The party continue with the maze and they enter back into the room they saw before, which we could call the forge room, the furnace room. So to describe it again, you've got this big 30-foot cube-shaped forge in the centre of the room. It reaches up to the ceiling. It's got slits around the edge, which you can kind of peek inside it, and a number of hatches. Some of them are in the centre of each side, and some of them are along like the edges of the sides. That's how I'm kind of visualising it. There are 3 crates against one of the walls as well, and they're labelled Star Iron, Dracaros Bronze, and Mithril. So inside each of the hatches is like a small little container, like a clay pot. And from each clay pot, there are chutes, which run from each corner down into central pots and then into a big black box in the centre of this forge. There's also the words Esoteric Alloy Value 24 on the side of this black box when they peek inside it. And on the crates, they have like the values of each metal, or I think they do an investigation check and Oren knows about this. So the Star Iron is worth 1, Dracaros Bronze is worth 2, Mithril is worth 3. And with a cheeky extra little bit of information, Oren then also knows that Star Iron and Dracaros Bronze shouldn't mix. So they deduce that the point of this puzzle is to create an alloy by melting various kind of combinations of these metals to make it add up to 24. But they've got to do it in such a way that the bronze and the iron don't directly mix, otherwise everything, I assume, is going to blow up. So Gwen rolls a natural 20 and notices a handprint with some arcane markings on the side of the forge. And Enkidu realises that one of these runes means fire. Of course he does. And so they deduce this is how to turn the forge on. Juna decides to go ahead and turn it on. And it heats up. 2 of the pots pour some metal, so there's obviously some inside it already. And red lights illuminate the room. They all take damage as the hatches pop open and they scald everyone in the room. So they've done it wrong, basically, to start with.
Ouch. Yeah.
Ruana disappears, Aggie melts, and Oren and Gaius take quite a lot of damage from this. They all heal each other, and Oren looks inside the hatches and realises the hatches that had the molten metal in them don't open. So they work out that the forge already contains a certain amount of these metals. I think there's 1 bronze and 2 mithril, and they add everything up. They realise they don't need everything in the crates, and they start to work out this puzzle of how to stack everything so that the reaction between the Star Iron and the Dracaros Bronze doesn't happen. Eventually they manage to solve this puzzle. I think they end up with 2 different methods. Both of them are going to work, but they go with one where they put the mithril in the opposite corners, and there's 1 piece of mithril left over, which they stick in the caddy. Turn the forge on, and then after the kind of smelting has happened, they open one of the doors, and the forge has compressed this big box at the bottom into a big beach ball sized sphere, and they get it out of the forge and the doors unlock. So that was that puzzle completed. Then they entered the golem room, obsidian room.
With the crossbows, yeah.
Yes, this one, crossbow room. So you've got 4 golems in each corner holding crossbows. There's a big obsidian slab in the middle of the room. And then at the far end, there's a brass table with a pair of goggles in a holder on it. Gaius has a really good idea, actually, and goes to look at each of these golems to see if he can kind of disarm them and pull the bolts out of the crossbow. None of them actually have them loaded, but it's almost like a mechanism inside each of those golems where you can't get to the bolts, but, you can see them. They're going to be able to shoot these bolts almost down their arms. They sort of investigate the goggles without touching them. You can sort of see there's a slight sheen over the lenses. But as Oren sort of approaches the table, each of the golems takes aim at him. As he steps away from the table, they then lower their weapons. They do an investigation check on the slab itself, and they find another clue from Kay, which just says, defend yourself, as Hannah said.
Yeah.
Enkidu does like a little inside check with Hina about the handwriting, and it neither confirms nor denies whether it's Kral or not. They do know that it's an educated person. Maybe not quite the same way that he used to write his Ks, but it could be sort of before he went a bit insane. We don't really get a clear answer on that. They agree that because they're about to potentially get into quite a bad situation with these golems, they're going to have a short rest. And then Once they are ready to kind of deal with this room, Orin crouches by the slab and prepares his protector dragon. Really good idea using the mage hand to lift up the goggles.
Yeah.
Because as this happens, all of these golems start attacking the mage hand, which luckily, because it's a spectral thing, it has no effect. And this is kind of where we leave off, is they start to attack one of the golems and it doesn't do a huge amount of damage to it. But we feel like this is probably where this next episode, next time, is going to be, this kind of confrontation with these 4 golems.
I mean, really good idea using the mage hand, because it kind of instantly showed them that these things are like pinpoint accuracy.
Yes.
I think David points out that it's not hitting the goggles at all. It's going straight through the hand every single time at the same point. Anybody else have the thought of like moving the hand so that it's one golem shooting another golem?
Ooh, that is a good idea.
Oh,
I didn't
no, I
think
did
of
not.
that.
Yeah, I had that
idea.
idea and I was like, oh yeah, you could just like literally put it in between them and then they're both shooting each other. You don't have to waste your spell slots and everything.
That's
they
a
just
great idea.
Eventually one of them will die.
Wear each other out. Yeah.
That's so smart.
What a great idea.
Oh, thank you.
And actually, the way that slab, I'm assuming the way I'm visualizing it, the way that slab is positioned, you can probably only have to deal with 2 of them.
Yeah. So if you take out 2 of them...
And then you've got a barrier of protection. Yeah, good idea.
That's really smart.
Maybe we'll be sitting back here in a month going, yeah, you called it, Sam.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. They'll probably do it in the next episode, and then I'm like, oh, well, that's an old idea. That idea was so 4 weeks ago.
What I was wondering about was the idea of like defend yourself, because didn't they take the tabletop?
Yeah, they did.
From the first...
Something about using the tabletop as a shield of some kind?
Yeah.
I don't know. That was partially what went through my brain, but then also I was still a bit stuck on the maths puzzle because that's not how my mind works at all.
No, and it was kind of confusing because we had Juna had, or Vicky had the input of like, oh, it being this, and I was there going, yeah, okay, that makes, and then they're like, no, and I'm like, oh, no, it doesn't make sense. It's like, just kind of letting them do the maths for me.
I know.
That is not my kind of challenge.
I wish I'd sat there with a notepad the first time I listened to it and tried to work it out in real time, because once you know the end bit, it's like, would have been fun to try and do it in real time, but I just quite enjoyed listening to them try and figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting with a lot of these challenges, kind of hearing like Orin take the front foot, because or Ben, coming up with the maths, because you were like, this really fits the character dynamic. And we had some really good input from Chris as Gaius as well, coming up with things and discovering things that was like, okay, getting a big wing thruppy in here.
Oh, yeah. So, okay, having done the notes for the episode that I was doing and then re-listening to this one, maybe this is a long shot, but there's 24 words on the wall.
Yeah.
And there's 24 esoteric alloy values, 24.
Oh, right, okay.
What is it about the number 24?
Good question.
24 hours. They really like Jack Bauer.
6 rooms with 4 walls. That adds up to 24.
Dun, dun, dun.
24 doors, maybe. Although not all of the rooms have doors on them, do they? Scratch
doors.
that.
But yeah, I don't know whether that's just like...
Some kind of number significance, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know whether that's David just being like, this is the number, and just made one room and then decided, and then there's going to be 24 in this room, or like, I don't know. But it just seems very coincidental that it repeats.
No, I agree.
Did they count the number of elemental creatures?
No, and I meant to make a note to write down exactly how many of each, and I didn't.
Oh, so they do actually specify...
I think when they say how many of each have we got, he says there's 2 electrical ones and there's... But I think he ends up going like, there's 3 or 4 of this one and there's 5 or 6 of this one or whatever. So maybe there's not an exact figure, but
okay, yeah.
Maybe he's just not giving too much away.
I bet it's 24.
Yeah,
I bet
maybe
it's 24.
it took like
Maybe 24.
a proper check of them being like, oh, I want to count them, because he's not going to give them everything.
No, of course. Of course not.
24.
Yeah. There's also, I want to know about the colours of those sigils, like what that means, because again, there was some kind of significance about them. Obviously, there's lots of like colours, as in like this is the red room and the blue room and the green room. But then some of the sigils were black and some of them were white and then some were gold.
Gold,
and I'm wondering, maybe I'm sure there's more to that, but I'm not picking up on what that is at the moment.
Yeah, I didn't know whether, I mean, obviously colour coding it so that they can know where they're going. But yeah, it was the black made sense for me with the obsidian. Which was the green room again?
Good
was
question.
The green room
I may have to look
because I feel like the blue room was the batteries.
And was the red room the furnace?
Yeah, I think it was.
It's whatever one is ahead when they're inside the piston room. I can have a quick look.
But I don't know whether it will be, but have an idea that maybe the piston room is the final puzzle, that they have to take the bits from all the other conjoining rooms, like this orb. They have to connect the wires and the clamps to the battery, which then go into the little rods in the crawl space, and that doing all of that and unlocking all of the doors in that area is how they then solve this entire puzzle. Or I could just be wrong, and it's like, oh, well done, you've passed every single trial. Here you go. Here is a triangle for you. Well done. You are now officially a Wingthrup.
I hate the Wingthrups. I think they're awful.
Yeah.
Don't mince your words.
I love the puzzles, but they hurt animals.
I mean, I like Myra, but we've always thought that she can be really prickly, and she's got some opinions that you're like, wait a minute. And now it makes so much sense.
We know why.
She's had this blasted into her brain for God knows how many years. I mean, if anything, Theracine is the one that is more down to earth. But the more I think about it, she is quite unhinged as well.
She is one of the ones where she seems nice on the surface, and then you look closer, and there's something sinister about her. Like we were saying in the last one, or you were saying, Sam, like, how does she know how to build a contraption that's such a high-level spell already?
Yeah.
Like, she's not even tested. It's so suspicious.
They are already clearly very comfortable with the whole trapping elementals and using their powers to power their wands, because it's the way that things have always been. So it's kind of...
Well, it's not even using their powers, it's using their actual
their
life
essence.
force.
Yeah.
It's using them up.
Yeah.
Oh, this makes me sad.
That's why I hate the Wingthrups.
Yeah. They deserve to die now. I got to the point where I was like, okay,
All right.
maybe all the Vondells didn't deserve to die, but I was ready for them to like get an ass kicking, and I'm really, really looking forward to them just being like breaking into the Wingthrup stronghold and being like, you guys deserve to die, and just pure carnage. And then they can have an episode afterwards to feel guilty about what they've done, sure, but so long as they kill them all.
We don't know how many there are, though. There could be a whole army of Wingthrups in there.
Well, yeah, if they kill all the Wingthrups, then they'd have to kill Orin and Gaius.
Only the tested Wingthrups.
Only the bad
Let's say that.
ones.
Yeah, the tested Wingthrups, they can all
the
die.
tested Wingthrups. But they'll be tested Wingthrups by the end of this. One hopes.
Oh, right. Okay, well, tested Wingthrups at this point in time. There's a loophole there. Just jump through it.
The Wingthrups totally know that they're inside this maze, though, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also, when, this obviously came out in this episode, was that Daryl had a similar theory to us about it being Crow, being the K behind this. And, like, you kind of mentioned it there, that it could be his handwriting before he went crazy. So we're talking years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Centuries.
Like, because the table doesn't let you jump back in time or anything. You're just foreseeing the future events. So would have known to be like, okay, they're going to do this, so I'll give them a little clue here. So that would have had to have happened a really long time ago. And you would have thought that somebody would have noticed it by this point. Which brings me back to your theory earlier, Pip, about is it a different trial depending on who goes in, how many people go in with you, and, how often do they cycle? So Crowl would have then had to have known that it was this particular trial that they were going into.
Yeah.
Which is...
in this particular timeline.
Yeah, which is really fascinating.
I wouldn't put it past him, though. He's very powerful.
He is,
I'm assuming.
Talking about him in the present tense.
He's not gone. He's everywhere. We've established this.
He was, yeah.
Was.
He was.
I mean, they described him as a lich, and, there's ways of uber powerful wizards coming back and doing things. I still have hopes for a big bad, or that it's not actually Ruana, it's been Crowl all along, who is now a little cat.
It's Orin. It's Orin and Crowl, who are one and the same.
No.
Sorry, Ben. I don't really think it's Orin. Or do I?
There are some times when I think it fits. But only some.
I feel like we haven't given Gwen much attention this episode, but she's been a major player in getting through all the puzzles and sorting things out and really pushing everything forward.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, she was the one who realised as they were working on that wand that it didn't matter what power source they used.
Yeah.
That was the bit that was really stumping them.
Yeah.
And she was the one that found the hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, she found the hand to power the furnace. It kind of did this whole like, I don't really know what I'm looking at here, so the rest of you can, but I've done my part.
I'm just gonna point at it.
I think because the way Grace has played it is like so unassuming. It's like, oh, I'll just do this thing. It's quite easy to sort of like overlook just how important Gwen has been in all of it, but actually all of them have had quite a significant contribution It really feels like they've been a real team.
Yeah,
while
it
they've
took all
been doing
five
it.
of them.
Definitely. They all deserve to pass.
Yeah.
So far. I mean, we'll see what happens with these golems, but...
But do we want them to pass so that they can be accepted by the wing thrups?
Well, we don't want them to die.
Yeah, or do we want them to burn the system down from the inside?
Well, yeah. That would be
without
good.
them in it.
Ooh.
Yeah.
If they pass, this is what I'm wondering. Is it just Guy and Orin who become fully fledged wingthrups, or is it all five of them? All five of them gave themselves as like, oh, it's 5 people doing the test. Do they all then qualify as wingthrups?
Or are they just eligible marriage material?
Yeah, I think they'd probably be like eligible to marry wingthrups then.
Oh, those
If they
lucky
wanted to.
people.
Don't know why you'd want to. Ew.
Guys, which puzzle was your favourite? Which one, if you had to go and actually physically do it, which one would you choose to go and take part in?
Oh, the wand one.
I did really enjoy
Really?
the wand.
I think the wand one.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was really clever. Yeah.
Okay. That was easy. Yeah.
I liked listening to the Forge one, but Sam, would be hopeless at it. I mean, it's pretty obvious which one I disliked the most. Not necessarily like, oh, I wish it wasn't in the episode, but just that was the one that got me.
Yeah.
And we don't know if it's the last of the trials as well.
This is true.
I feel
Yeah,
like there
this
is
very
the
true.
big thing of, like I say, everything collected from one room, something that they can only see once they can put on those goggles.
Is it the golems? Are we looking at the slab? I don't even know what we're
This is
supposed
what
to
I'm
be
wondering.
looking
I'm wondering if something
for.
will appear on the slab.
Ooh. Yeah, that
I
would
don't
make
know.
sense, wouldn't it?
So is that your favourite puzzle?
Yeah, I think it might be actually,
Yeah?
because it hasn't
Okay.
been worked out yet. Like I said, it was my first thought of like, oh yeah, you put that there so it destroys 2 of them,
It's a good
which
solution.
may give you a chance to stick on these goggles and see what you're dealing with. Because defend yourself might, with it being written on that part of the table, could mean that, oh, there's some kind of shield or something, like, an attraction shield or something that attracts all bolts to it. These are things that exist within the player's handbook as items that you can give to your players. It's like a shield of arrow catching. So that is,
Okay.
a possibility with
Yeah.
something like that. But then, I have this idea that those things might be used later.
We haven't heard Pippa's favourite puzzle. What about you?
I don't know. I hadn't even thought about my answer. I think if I had to actually be plonked into one of those rooms and do it on my own, I would probably choose the Forge one, because I think adding it up, I'd get there eventually as long as I had a piece of paper. I think actually seeing it in front of me, I would have got there in the end. I think my least favourite, please do not put me in that room, would have been the wall room, because I do not want those walls
Squisher.
coming in on me.
I might have been a bit
Yeah.
flatter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
than
Yeah,
I was
exactly.
before.
Not okay with that.
I was just wondering what kind of upgrades you guys are expecting for Aggie 3. Also, I'm really annoyed that nobody did the whole like Aggie to
I thought it.
push by no. I've thought that every time they say, what does
Maybe
Aggie
next
do?
episode.
Yeah. Yeah.
It'll happen eventually.
It's too late. It's done. It's Aggie 3 now, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Aggie 3.
Can you imagine by Aggie 20, it's just going to be like this absolutely hench,
This full on like power mech.
supercharged.
I pour all the teas.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Hydro Goose teapot where it's just got so many different spouts.
So that's the upgrade we want.
This
Yeah.
one does acid, and this one is his blowtorch.
Yeah.
Oh my god, like a cross between a teapot goose and a beholder. Just
Oh
all the-
yeah,
Oh, that's
and it knows
terrifying.
anti-magic field.
There we go. Yeah.
Or cone. Sorry, cone.
Yeah, anti-magic cone. Yeah.
Oh, that's actually a good name for the hedgehog room. Is the anti-magic feels.
Oh, anti-magic pills.
Oh, what's happened to me? It's the hay fever.
I don't know if we can do better than that pun.
Favorite moments then, guys?
Gaius's backstory.
Oh, good
Give
choice.
me more. I want to know. Tell me things. I demand it.
I feel bad picking another Gaius thing now, but I think it would have been like Gaius randomly picking, or maybe not randomly, maybe there's more to it, but picking that correct wand out of a choice of 8. That
Yeah,
was great.
Just that natural kind of like the wingthrup blood.
That
Yeah.
realisation of, oh, I picked the right one. That's mine. What about yours, Sam?
For me, although it wasn't my favourite moment, for me it was the bit that stood out most over all of these, which was the realisation of like, what are we doing? For me, that really hit hard in amongst a bunch of things that are like, okay, solving these crazy rooms that could kill you at some point. That was the one that wasn't particularly dangerous, but it hurt them in such a different way that, I had to applaud
Yeah.
David for that. I would never have thought of that.
We call it a standout moment rather than a favourite moment.
Favourite moment of role-playing
Yeah.
for me.
Yes, definitely.
And I know we've talked a lot about the map this episode and we've sort of signposted to Patreon already, but I did just want to do a little cheeky plug for the Patreon.
Yeah, definitely.
You do get content like the map, and the amount of stuff you get for the incredibly low price that the tiers are is so great. And you do get to contribute to the world.
Yeah.
As we've seen, Shambling Mound.
Mound, Patreon polls.
Yep, and the Chipmunk. And you also get the episodes early, and you can even join for, I think it's £1.
Yep.
Yeah.
The lowest tier is £1 a month, which, considering what you get from these wonderful players, is like, it's nothing. They're practically giving it away. Best investment I've made this year, I would say.
There's a community of us now as well, which is just like really nice. Like knowing that other people are as obsessed with this show as we are, and you can then discuss your own theories. Like, you know, come join us on the Discord where there is like a...
yeah.
It's nice getting to know people on the Discord and seeing other people's theories and the responses to our chat. It's really great.
Jump on in. I just can't wait for the next episode.
I know. I mean, I want to know how it's all solved, and the funny thing is we won't be able to talk about it for another month, but I will be messaging you with my shock, my awe, and my joy in the meantime.
Our group chat's going to pop off.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I guess I'll see you guys on the, on the group chat.
Oh, yeah, you will.
Thanks for this. This has been fun.
Until then, I guess it's that phrase.
It's that sign-off time.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Anon for now.
Oh, that was good.
I did the arm and then I set myself off halfway through.